What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have another one of our Hail Caesar faction reviews for you. This is the Parthians. So another list that's starting in the BC period, but we're starting to see some that will also stretch into the AD period. So we're moving right along. Our previous video was the Galatians. Check that out if you haven't seen that yet. It's a good one. So the Parthians here is not a very large list by any means, so but we'll still obviously take a look at everything in detail for you. If you're not familiar who the Parthians were, kind of one of those empires that kind of formed after Alexander had passed and sort of in some of the further eastern territories. So definitely read up on that. Take a look at some of those searches there. That's always a nice thing that they have in these Hail Caesar lists. If you're not familiar, definitely educate yourself there. But a fun list with some interesting challenges, but opportunities as well for you. So as you can see, we've largely and lately been focusing on sort of infantry dominated lists. So this flips that on its head. And this is a cavalry dominated list. Cavalry is 75% or more, so you could go 100% cav if you wanted. Of that, 75% of it's going to be horse archers, of that 75% cavalry or more. So you could actually have an entirely horse archer army, which is kind of bonkers too. Infantry could also be up to 25%, again, not including skirmishers. We have the typical divisions here, although the general's household is fielded as part of his division, naturally. So moving on to the list proper itself, it's pretty simple. There's not too many different things again. So starting off here, we get the cataphract cavalry armed with a kontos, which basically, if I'm not mistaken, was a lance, type of lance. So very solid here. We get a clash of 9, so obviously going to be deadly in the first round, especially if we get that charge off. Sustain certainly drops off, and that's all right, though. We do still keep a 4-up morale save because of that heavy armor, essentially, of the cataphract, so that's always good. These are not small units either, so these are big boy units, having that in quantity was pretty scary overall. You're going to hit hard in that round, that first round, and with the cavalry, you should be able to, or hopefully be able to dictate, when and where contact is made. Of that, you could also upgrade one unit to the general's household unit, which gives them stubborn. For an extra 3 points. So obviously, considering you just have it in the one unit, you might as well take it and put it in your general's division and stick him in there as well if you want. Just a good solid upgrade there. That being said, would have been nice to maybe see that general's household unit be like elite or something on top of it. Stubborn's great, but a little bit of extra something for the general would be nice there. Then we get horse archers fielded as small units, and remember that's 75% or more of the cavalry that you do pick. So you're going to have a ton of small units like these roaming around. And the crazy thing, and what makes this list actually kind of like a sort of sleeper powerhouse, if you can master what is required of you here, is that all these guys have Parthian shot. Naturally, you would expect the Parthians to field Parthian shot units. Not just for the name, but it's where that kind of comes from too. But anyway, so lots of these small units, they're not going to do too much in combat for you, but what they are going to give you is mobile missile fire all over the damn place. And basically, being a small unit, right, we're not going to see those 3s in the stat line there for it, but that's all right. The quantity will be your quality on that. In addition to also just having the Parthian shot roll. So being essentially light cavalry in that sense, you just get the 6-up save. So like I said, these guys will melt away if they do get hit in combat. That's where your cataphracts will have to do the heavy lifting for you. But these horse archers, the sheer quantity of horse archer units that you're going to have to field, you should be putting damage on just about anything and everything that the opponent has, so that when you're cataphracts do charge home, or you get into that fight, they don't have that much heavy lifting to do, and then you'll start pushing them into that territory where they'll hopefully break, or you might just shoot up the enemy so bad they just break from the sheer weight of missile fire too. We do get some light cavalry options as well here with javelins as small units. There's just some extra harassing ability. We get that in quantity as well, but again, we're gonna have to take a whole hell of a lot of cavalry, because we do want to have enough cataphracts, and we do want to have some light cavalry, but again, 75% of all of our cavalry has to be these horse archer units, so we're going to have to play slightly bigger games to get sort of a little more diversity out of the list here. But you depending on how much light cavalry you field, they can do a little bit more work in combat. That 5 is respectable for a small unit, of course, but they also get feigned flight. So you could charge in, maybe push that last couple of damage through. Hopefully they've already been shot up from the Parthian shot horse archers, and then bounce out if you need to. And just that can form a very sort of annoying and nasty 1-2 punch there, where ultimately the light cavalry is a disposable unit too. But your horse archers start shooting things up. That light cavalry gets in there, does its thing, needs to bounce out if it didn't wreck the unit that it was fighting, and then you can continue just waylaying them with horse archer shots from all over the place. On the infantry side, it's nothing overly special. You basically have levies here at best, kind of. So you get levy medium infantry with spears. Nothing special there. Fairly cheap overall. Respectable stat line for medium infantry, but again, we're just dealing with levies here. And you also get levy archers, which is cool because again, just dirt cheap overall, and solid extra long range firepower to go on top of the crazy quantity that you'll have from the horse archers. And then you can also just field straight up light infantry archers if you want to go that route as well, and not have to worry about levy. Obviously, they're going to be a little weaker in combat, being light infantry versus medium infantry. And we could then also downgrade them into small units as well. So again, just you're going to, depending on how much of that you want to do, your opponent isn't going to know what to target because you're going to have just a ridiculous amount of units. So there's only so much they can do too. So that also makes up for some of the lack of just straight up grinding tar pit type of units that this list doesn't really do that. So there's only so many things they can target over the course of a game, and that kind of gets into some other deeper tactics and strategy stuff, but we'll cover that kind of stuff in a whole series of separate videos. But just know that don't always just take these stats at face value and think, oh, this unit's good or this unit sucks. You got to look at the whole army and what it's kind of designed to do. And so with that being said, you might give a less skilled player a list like this and they will do horrible, but someone who really can understand the sort of full potential of how this list works within the mechanics of the game, you can work wonders with that too. We got a little bit more here. We do have skirmishers, which don't really fit into any category. So the javelins as small units, so again, even more short harassing missile fire there up and close, and supporting units as well. Again, the dirt cheap stat line there, dirt cheap point cost for these little units here. And then we do get camel baggage fielded as a tiny unit up to 1. This is like the first time we've really seen a baggage unit. Obviously nothing special on the stats here. We do have notes. So 10 points per unit and plus 1 point per horse archer unit, which jacks that up a little bit, but we'll take a look at the notes. And then you do get leadership 8 across the board, which is I would say certainly bare minimum to operate something crazy like this. If this were leadership 7, I would say this is probably not a great army to run, because you're gonna have to be very, very lucky with the dice rolls and a little bit more conservative with your orders. 8 is standard across most of these lists. There's really no call for these guys to have a leadership 9 upgrade at all. So it's going to definitely take a seasoned general to make the right kind of orders and move all your pieces as often as you need to. But again, dice will obviously betray you at the worst of times. So let's bump up here just to read about the infantry a little bit, and then the baggage, just to see what that's doing for us. So we're kind of jumping in the middle here. The Parthians did have infantry, although they were not present at the famous victory of Carrhae, leading many people to imagine this was typical. Parthian infantry were levies from the cities of Mesopotamia and the Greek colonies left behind by Alexander, and were of generally rather poor quality. The camel baggage has been included to represent the animals used to carry arrows for the horse archers at the Battle of Carrhae. If the camel baggage is included, all horse archer units count as marksmen at an extra cost of plus 1 point per unit, which is bonkers, right? So we come back to this. We only get the 1 baggage unit, but and again, the larger your game, the more points this thing is going to cost. But it's well worth it. Think about it this way, right? Like, let's say you have 15 to 20 horse archer units. Great, that's 15 to 20 extra points on top of the base 10. Sure, but then we go back and spend another 15 to 20 points across all of our horse archer units. Now we have Parthian shot and marksman, which takes this list from really good and scary in the right hands to kind of like annoyingly good and kind of elite without, we're not talking keyword elite here, but Parthian shot and marksman, again, across like so many damn units that are so good if used properly. You're going to throw all that in the enemy's face and pepper them with just a ridiculous quantity of shots. And then, if they get focused on that, that's the time that like the cataphracts will come through and punch through whatever hasn't been already like just reduced to the breaking point, or right around that area, and the cataphracts will just mop that up without too much trouble, and in that sense, that general's household unit with just the extra stubborn there, that you don't even necessarily need to go that route if you don't want to, but just fielding as many of those units to punch as possible, and if you do need to, those light cavalry in a pinch can also finish them off, and ultimately they're disposable, right? You're pin cushioning them with the horse archers and maybe even infantry archers and stuff, and then the light cavalry can throw just enough dice, hopefully, to punch through and finish off a unit, or if they do survive somehow, use the feign flight, get out of there, and then just rinse and repeat. So this will be a very, very annoying list. So always do check out the sort of description paragraph too, because that will have some of the extra rules. It's a little bit of a annoying format sometimes, because ideally you would think all the rules would be in the rules section here, not to shake the camera too much, but it's just a little extra thing. But definitely pay attention to that. You should be running that baggage unit really if you can at all afford the points cost, and it gives you a cool modeling opportunity as well. So definitely a fun list. So obviously if you like cavalry and shooting, this is the list for you. The infantry is not the star of the show here, in contrast to a lot of our more recent reviews. So and that being said, this is definitely not what I would call a starter army. You can't just play something like this with like not much experience in the game or overall like tactics and strategy and what was required for this kind of list, and then hope to do well. I could easily see like a newbie player kind of getting stomped if they don't understand how to run something like this. But again, Hail Caesar not necessarily like an overly competitive cutthroat gaming scene either. But that being said, if you do want to play like a more of a heads up game, with the point costs and all that, and kind of test yourself, your general skills and all that, there is a time and place for that, certainly. But like I said, this is definitely, I would say, more of an advanced list. You do have to have a firm grasp of a lot of moving pieces and how to really make that work to your best advantage. But if you can get good with something like this and really like master this type of list, this can be put up against many other contemporary armies of the time, or even try it out against other things to your heart's desire, basically. But yeah, Parthians overall pretty damn cool. Let us know in the comments, guys, what you think. Have you collected Parthians? Have you played them in Hail Caesar? Have you played it with them, against them? Let us know. Thoughts on the list. Does it need a little something more? Should some of the things be adjusted? We've talked about a couple of them throughout the video. Hit us up in the comments, guys. Thanks so much for stopping in. We really do appreciate it. Leave us a like and a subscribe too if you haven't already. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care.